cool is it that the first movie review I film with my new Iron Man figure that I just got from Las Vegas is for Avengers Endgame. Now ain't that fortuitous timing? Alright, so Avengers Endgame is the final culmination of the Marvel Cinematic Universe to date. It all started back with Iron Man back in 2008, and now here we are 21 films later, and we have a nice final bookend film to cap off the entire series. And you know what? I absolutely freaking love this movie. Now, everyone's seen Avengers Infinity War. It's not a spoiler now to say that Thanos won in that movie. He had the scariest snap since the Addams Family. And he wiped out half the universe, and that's how Infinity War ended. But now here we are, the heroes who are left. Of course, they gotta think about getting revenge and getting life back to normal back on Earth and wiping out what Thanos did. And that's basically all we can say about the plot at this point, because the trailers that you have seen, they don't really tell you anything. And in fact, most of the footage from those trailers is probably within the first 20-30 minutes of the film. So if you watch the trailers over and over again, you've analyzed them, I can promise you, you're not gonna know anything that's really happening in the film, because the producers and the studios have deliberately not shown us anything, and that is the right way, the right mindset to go into this movie, because the less you know, the more exciting the film is gonna be. Now, I will say this. The first half of the film is very character driven, and rightfully so, because these heroes, they're dealing with the fallout from their actual defeat. These heroes have never been defeated before, and they lost. Thanos won. Half the life in the universe is gone. So it's all about them coping and hoping and trying to figure out what to do. So it's basically focusing on the characters who are left, which is basically the original 6 Avengers, which is the right way to tell this story. And so the first half of the movie, there really isn't all that much superhero action going on, but I was okay with that, because I have now invested myself in these characters over the last 11 years. So I want to see what goes on with them. I want to see how they cope with it. I want to see how they get back at Thanos. And that first half of this movie was really awesome for me, because I wanted to see these characters and how they dealt with it. And in a sense, it's kind of like the first Avengers movie, where the first half of that movie as well was kind of a setup for the entire Avengers team, the entire Avengers universe. And that actually really didn't happen until the second half, or the finale in New York of that first movie. Now, I wasn't really in love with the original Avengers film like most people were. I thought it was fun, but I thought it was kind of boring initially, because, you know, it was a lot of talk, a lot of exposition, a lot of explaining, and then I was just kind of waiting for the fighting to happen. And this story, the way the story is told in Endgame, is very similar to that first movie, but the difference this time around is that now I've fallen in love with these characters. I know these characters over the last 11 years. So now when you're giving me a character-driven story about these key characters of the Avengers, I am very interested in them. I want to see what happens. I want to see what they do. So the first half of this movie, for me anyway, it wasn't slow at all. I loved every scene of how each character dealt with their issues. And of course, you got the final half, which is the big finale, the big action sequences, and of course that does not disappoint as well. I literally had a smile on my face the whole time. Some really cool moments in there. Of course, I can't spoil it here, but believe me, you will not be disappointed. So Endgame, you can say, is very similar to the original Avengers film in the way the story is told, in terms of being more character-driven, not so much action-driven. But it's also vastly different from Infinity War, which just came out last year. Now, Infinity War was action-packed. There were characters all throughout. You had 20-some-odd characters all doing their part. There were action scenes here, action scenes there. It was a big superhero extravaganza, and we all loved it. I mean, I gave it a 10 out of 10. I thought it was fantastic. Endgame is a different type of movie, but you can actually look at Infinity War and Endgame as kind of two halves of a big epic film saga. I would love to actually sit down and see Infinity War and Endgame back to back. I think that would make for an amazing experience. But the two films are different, so don't go into Endgame expecting something similar to Infinity War. In fact, if you want to make an analogy for it, you could kind of say that Infinity War is like when you lose your virginity. It's very new, it's very exciting, you don't know what to expect, and then when you're done, you're like, oh shit, bro, that was awesome. Whereas Endgame is more like you've been in a relationship for 10 years, and at that point, you're probably just having anniversary sex, but it's very satisfying, it's very calming, it's very intimate. You know the players, and at the end, you know, it's all familiar, but you just feel so satisfied, and then after you're done, you go, oh baby, we go smoke cigarette already. That's kind of how Endgame was for me anyway. So the two films are vastly different, but put them together and it just makes for one incredible saga. I will say that the film isn't perfect. There were a couple of choices where I'm like, I'm not really a fan of that. What they've done with one of the original Avenger characters, I just like, well, that's not really what I want to see from that character. But it's a choice they made, and okay, I'm fine with it, but I just wasn't the biggest fan of it. But I see why they did it. Other characters, they kind of fleshed out more, which I really appreciated, and given them more than what they usually give it to do, so I like that part of it. But also then there were some paradoxes, some, I don't want to say plot holes, because I'm not sure if I understand the entire plot myself. Really, I need to see it again to really make heads or tails of it. But there were some things that kind of questioned, like, oh, why didn't that happen, and etc. But you know what? In the overall picture of Endgame, very, very minor flaws. I had a great time with this movie. Like I said, if you follow the MCU up to this point, you've fallen in love with these characters, you know these characters, you know their backstories, you know their demons, you know their hopes, you know their histories. You know, this film is just a satisfying conclusion to what we've been seeing up to this point. And I'm guaranteeing gonna see this film again in the theaters very soon, and I'm going to try to pick up on the little subtleties that I missed the first time around. And because this story is so character driven, there were quite a few emotional moments throughout the film, and you know, I didn't quite tear up as I thought I might, but still there were some moments that came pretty damn close, and this movie definitely does have the feels as well as the action. But Avengers Endgame, fantastic film. Like I said, I'm not quite as thrilled coming out of it as I was in Infinity War, but I am more satisfied as it kind of ties a nice little bow on top of the present that is the MCU universe. So for me, Avengers Endgame gets a 9 out of 10. Thanks so much for watching my review. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel, MC on Film, for more reviews in the future.